那最近呢，我们的频道做了一个非常有趣的系列，就是和一些在中国生活的马来西亚的老乡们聊天。原本呢，只是想要记录一些中国跟马来西亚的故事，但是呢，我觉得收获真的是完全的超出了我们两个所能够期待到的一个结果。那第一层惊喜当然是认识了很多朋友啦，就是跟大家一起见面吃饭，然后出去玩，我觉得都是非常有趣的一个经验和经历。第二层的收获呢，当然就是一些故事背后的生活智慧啦。那这一切真的多亏了在故事背后的这位安扣女士。
不过如果下次有其他国家的朋友，我就不出境了。
听完她这话之后，我真的心里咯噔了一下。这我们以后明明还计划着采访什么意大利的主厨啊，什么德国的工程师啊，让我来一个普通的中国人，没有留过学，甚至我还是个学渣。我记得4、6级考试的时候，完全都是靠一些所谓的做题技巧，比如说你做完形填空的时候啦，然后3长1短选短的，3短1长选长的。做阅读理解的时候，我就完全靠在文章里面我找问题的词。阅读理解做完了之后，我连这个文章说什么我都不太清楚。你这样让我开口来说，我真的是完全实战经验都没有啊！哇，你试想一下，如果当时我要采访什么法国厨师，人家跟我说
我的料理的灵感来自于莫奈的睡莲，
我来一句
Nice color，
德国工程师跟我聊什么
精密仪器的美学，
我只能接一句
beautiful，
这对吗？这能算采访吗？这简直是
跨文化交流的一个车祸现场啊！
自从听到这个天大的噩耗之后呢，我每天想要做的事情也就这么1、2件事情了。第一呢，我就是在网上找一些突击实用的口语的一些词汇。第二件呢，就是攒钱来找外教了。那这些的困扰呢，直到我最近发现了这款 app 才算迎刃而解。那它能够直接让我和海外的认证教师呢，直接进行1对1的对话，价格也远比健身房的私教还要便宜。那么我觉得最让我上头的点呢，就是真人的1对1的定制课程了。以前上网课的时候，我觉得就是没有办法因材施教嘛，就往往是浪费了很多的时间跟金钱，没有办法进行有效的学习。那么现在呢，在 iTalki 上课之前呢，你就可以根据个人的兴趣爱好、职业以及你想要达到的目标来进行一个课程的定制。那不管是想要提高商业口语、日常口语，或者是提升考试的成绩，提升对某个国家的文化的认知，都可以在 iTalki 上找到合适的老师，效果真的绝了。在注册界面的时候呢，就可以选择我的兴趣以及我上课的这个目的。那这样呢，老师在后台也可以在上课前去初步了解一下我个人的一些情况，而且呢，在第一次上课的时候呢，我的老师也是初步的对我的听力跟口语做了一个简单的测试，然后更加详细的了解了我的一个情况。
What I would like to do now is just do a quick kind of level check. I'd like to ask you some questions to find out your level a bit more precisely. Some easier questions to begin with. So can you tell me about your last holiday?
Maybe quite a few days ago, the Labor's Day. Me and my friend, we went to our friend's house. We had a meal and watched some TV shows.
So what are your thoughts on AI? Do you think it's more positive or negative?
AI has changed my work a lot. Some script I use AI to write and I just edit it. For video editing, AI tools are very helpful too. Denoise the video, denoise your voice, everything with AI. It's easier.
Sometimes you're choosing the wrong word. Sometimes you're listening, you misunderstand. What I would like to do, your pronunciation sounds fairly good. There's some sounds that you don't pronounce, but otherwise it's not bad.
而且我觉得更惊艳的是呢，有3万多个分布在全球各地的一个母语的老师供我选择。那我用筛选功能呢，只花了大概3、5分钟就锁定了一个会说简单中文、英语为母语的外教。这样呢，我就完全不用担心零基础的情况下听不懂发生尴尬的问题了。他也是旅居过亚洲非常多的城市，所以呢，基础的一些中文他也是完全没有问题的。逐渐的让我觉得在跟他沟通的过程中呢，我不用担心我想说的英文词汇说不出来，然后我就着急的像热锅上的蚂蚁一样，就是不知道该怎么表达我要说的东西了。放松下来呢，可能可以更好的练习以及表达自己。那么也是在课程刚开始的时候呢，我们简单的聊天，他了解了一下我现在为什么想要突然来学英语，因为我已经工作了嘛。其实工作之后学英语，大家都是有一个比较明确的目的，可能是你最近要去别的国家出差啊，或者是外派到别的国家工作啊，或者像我一样，可能最近需要跟一些外国的客户或者朋友来进行一个沟通交流。
I would like to, can I ask you some questions? So what are your goals? Why do you want to learn English? Is there anything special?
Here's the thing, my job requires me to do some short interview of foreigners living in China. I've never really spoken any English with foreigners before.
Could you tell me about what kind of interviews would you be doing?
Questions about their life in China and any cultural shock they live in China and other stuff about their life.
What is this for? Is this for like a magazine or for TV or for
YouTube videos?
Tell me about when you're speaking English, is there anything that you find more difficult? Is there any area that you listening or speaking or grammar or vocabulary? Is there anything you think is harder?
I can speak fluently. And the
Okay.
other thing is when I interview, I want to make them feel like we're friends. What kind of topic can bring people close? 就是感觉在平常的交流中呢，他大概就已经掌握到了我需要改进以及我需要提升的地方，也觉得我哪些地方呢做得还不错，给我了一点鼓励跟肯定，我就觉得非常的有动力。
Probably what I think you need is practice with spoken English and vocabulary, building vocabulary.
Yeah.
Really, those are two things.
Yeah.
Probably we can discuss the topics that you are interested in your videos that you will cover, and interview each other and practice these and build vocabulary at the same time. We can do that all together.
但是有些地方呢还要提升，可能我的发音还不错，但是有时候我选择用的词呢会让他觉得有点奇怪。他说的话我都能听懂，但是有时候他的意思呢我又不能够完全的明白。那么这些问题呢，我觉得也是相当的有针对性，让我可以更好的找到我以后要提升的方向吧。那在这之后呢，我们也抓紧时间做了一下未来可能要遇到的一个采访的预演。那么我就跟他聊了一些我平时会问到的一些问题。
What are the topics? You mentioned briefly at the beginning.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more? What are the topics that you would like to cover in the videos?
What kind of culture shock have you ever met in China? Like you travel in China a few times, right?
No, there's some problem. I'll come later. So the grammar is mixed up and there's a few things mixed up.
Sorry.
Okay, but I understand. Okay, so I'll just answer. So before going to China for the first time, I'd already traveled in many parts of Asia. I traveled in India. India gave me a lot of culture shock. So when I came to China, it wasn't so extreme as India. I first visited China in 1988, especially in the countryside, in a small town. Everybody would stare at me. Everyone, about 30 or 40 people,
sure.
would watch me. And now I think it's not so true. Maybe a little bit. But probably my experience will be different from people who you will ask. Who are the people you would be asking?
People living in China for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I could talk, like the question you asked me before. I think you need help forming good questions so it'll be understood very quickly. I think that'd be, you said, what kind of culture shock you have ever met in China? I understand it, but I have to think carefully about what you mean because the word order is strange. So do you know how you would say maybe what kind of culture shock have you experienced in China? That would be a good formation.
这一套聊完了之后呢，我现在觉得只要找到适合自己的老师和学习方式的话，语言学习也没有那么困难了。当然能够坚持学习它也是非常重要的啊。那么因为有了这一次的经验呢，我也是比较放松，我觉得以后呢我会弄砸我第一次采访的概率真的是大大的一个下降了。之后呢 Mark 还跟我约定，就是说以后在上课的时候呢，我们再去进一步的敲定一下我们的问题该如何表达，以及一些其他的小的 small talk 该如何进行。
I would practice helping you form good questions and then chatting backwards and forwards. We can put in some small talk as well, of course.
其实我非常喜欢的一点就是可以自己去来选择老师，跟年纪比较长的人聊天呢会比较放松。那么确实呢 Mark 就给我一种好像是你的亲戚、你的老大哥、老大爷的感觉，就跟他聊天很放松，我也更加的敢开口去聊天，不会觉得非常的尴尬。说到下次课呢，我就想要说一说这个按课时付费、不用充会员的这个良心的模式了。那像我们这样经常出差的人呢，其实时间是非常不固定的，一节课一买呢，我就可以把我有的空闲时间给好好的利用起来，忙的时候就停课，闲下来我就可以立即去学，灵活度真的直接拉满。APP 呢可以随时约课，对我的拖延症有非常好的一个治疗作用。那么说实话呢，其实一开始的时候我这样非常的怀疑，就是难道线上的课会比线下还要有用吗？以前我就觉得线上的英语可能就是给你看课件，然后背单词，很死板，没有办法定制你的学习进度。但现在这种真人对话跟实时纠错带来的这种自信感，我觉得真的是提前录播课给不了的。现在随便30分钟呢，就可以随时在练情景的对话，相当于把语言环境呢装进自己的口袋，我觉得非常的棒。如果感兴趣的话呢，可以点击下面的专属链接来进行注册，输入我们的优惠码 UncleMax 就可以获得满$10赠$5的优惠啦。